The Kaaba was damaged by two things the year before it was rebuilt. The first, a fire; the second, a flood. So it's partially destroyed, and so they decided that they need to rebuild the entire Kaaba. It so happened that the Kaaba was damaged by two things the year before it was rebuilt. The first, a fire; the second, a flood. So it's partially destroyed, and so they decided that they need to rebuild the entire Kaaba. It so happened that when the Kaaba was destroyed, there was a news of a sale going on in the city of Jeddah. The Caesar of Rome had sent supplies to one of the cities of Yemen to build a massive church over there. So he got the best wood and the best marble and the best craftsmen to go and build that church in Yemen. But Allah had another plan. The books of Seerah mention that Allah sent a wind off the coast of Jeddah to cause the ship to basically crash. The ship was damaged, but it just made it to Jeddah, because Allah has a plan. And so they set up the merchandise for sale. They need to get money to get back to Rome. And so the Quraysh, when they heard about this, they gathered together all their wealth. They went to Jeddah to purchase all of this and to hire the craftsmen as well to come. They're wondering now, the Kaaba is in semi-destroyed state in front of them. Should we come and destroy it? This is the house of Allah. They've never destroyed the house of Allah before. I mean, even the thought of it is sacrilegious, right? They don't know what to do. According to one report of Ibn Ishaq mentions this, that when they were debating what to do, a large snake came out of the well of Zamzam. Allah sent a big bird to pick up the snake and throw it behind one of the mountains of Mecca. So they took this as a sign that they should approach the Kaaba. The snake is not guarding the Kaaba anymore, but they're still terrified. Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira finally said, "Khalas, I'm going to do it. Hand me the axe." So he took the axe, he marched towards the Kaaba, he started breaking down one of the walls of the Kaaba. The next day, alhamdulillah, the entire Quraysh decided now we all have to tear the Kaaba down and then rebuild it. So they gathered together and they divided all of these tribes into 4 groups. Each of the tribes gets one wall. Banu Abd Manaf is given the most prestigious, and that's the side of the wall. The second most prestigious, the Banu Makhzum, they get the wall that is the Rukn Yamani to the black stone. And then their other tribes, they get the other 2 walls. The Banu Abd Manaf and the Banu Makhzum are raising the corner that has the black stone. The black stone doesn't belong to either wall, it belongs to both. And so when they get to that area, trouble brews. Why? Because the Banu Makhzum and the Banu Abd Manaf are rivals. Both of them said, the black stone is my side. And then the other tribes also put in and said, why should you get the privilege? This is a special stone. The fighting between them, or the rhetoric, or the anger, reached such a level that construction on the Kaaba stopped for 5 days. The Banu Makhzum secretly put together an agreement with some other sub-tribes that they would fight to death to put the black stone in. And they dipped their hands in blood. So this is how they would sign things. They were almost about to reach to blows. On the 5th day, they all came together. Abu Umayyah ibn al-Mughira, who was the oldest person alive in Mecca at the time, he said, there will be no bloodshed. We're not going to fight over this. Let us just give it over to the first person who enters from the door. What this basically meant for them is the luck of the draw. Whoever walked in would obviously choose his own tribe. When they saw the Prophet ﷺ, they all became happy because every tribe thought, the Prophet ﷺ likes me so much, he's actually going to choose my tribe. And this is amazing that even the Banu Makhzum and the Banu Abd-Dar, the other Banus of the Quraysh, they felt such a liking for this person, and they felt he liked them so much that he's going to choose us. And so they all were overjoyed. The Prophet ﷺ instantaneously, he said, bring me a sheet, upper garment. When it was brought, the Prophet ﷺ himself put it on the garment, and he said, let every sub-tribe send its representative, send its chieftain, and all of us will put it simultaneously. And so they all lifted it. So the Banu Makhzum, they fulfilled their promise because they were a part of those who lifted. And all the tribes fulfilled it. The Prophet ﷺ himself was the one who put it into that particular location. They changed the structure of the Kaaba Allah had willed that that change would become permanent. Number one, and the biggest and the most drastic change, they were using the expensive stuff. They calculated immediately that they could not build the foundation as large as the original Kaaba. The original Kaaba was not a square, it was a rectangle. So they decided to build a square instead, and to mark the other two corners with two posts, and to put a little barrier over there, which is, as you know, to this day. The second change that they did, the Kaaba was not as high as it became. It was doubled in height. The third thing that they did, they made the door of the Kaaba in the middle of the wall. They made the door high. And then they did something which was very logical and rational. They built a water spout. Because what happened before? The roof caved in because of the water. Too much rain and floods. When he conquered Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ said to Aisha, were it not for the fact that your people are still new to Islam, I would have destroyed this structure of the Kaaba and rebuilt it on the original pillars of Ibrahim and made the door accessible to everybody. This hadith is a well-known hadith, it's reported in Sahih Bukhari. In the time of the early Umayyad dynasty, there was a lot of civil war going on. One group, led by Abdullah ibn Zubayr, the companion, broke away from the Umayyad Empire and they founded their own mini caliphate in Mecca. And this was at the time of the infamous Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, the most tyrant ruler that the Ummah has ever seen. So Abdullah ibn Zubayr took over the Kaaba. When this hadith reached him, he destroyed the Kaaba and he rebuilt it like a rectangle and he made the door back down to the earth. Then Hajjaj ibn Yusuf overtook Mecca again by throwing catapults into the Kaaba. And the catapults destroyed the Kaaba itself, amazing. And then he literally crucified on a plank in front of the Kaaba, Abdullah ibn Zubayr. He had to rebuild the Kaaba, and he built it the way that the Jahili Arabs had built it. The square, with the hatim, with door high up. And then it is reported that in the time of Imam Malik, the Khalifa at the time said to Imam Malik, why don't we go back and build it the way that Ibn Zubayr did it? Because isn't that what the Prophet ﷺ wanted? Imam Malik said, no. I don't want the Kaaba to become a toy that kings come along and they put their whims and desires on it. And this is what you call fiqh. And so, from the time of Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, it has remained upon the foundations of the Jahili Arabs, and the hatim has been there.